Great. Awesome. Welcome to our Artist Work informational session today. I'm Melissa Aston. I'm the manager of grants and community engagement here at ArtsBuild. Thank you for being on this Zoom. As you all know, this is a recorded Zoom. Everybody who has registered will be sent the link as well as the PowerPoint after. It will also be posted to our YouTube page at some point this afternoon. You're welcome to put questions in the chat, which I will scroll back through at the end and answer them. I'll open it up for questions at the end. If you raise your hand during the presentation and I'm able to stop and you can answer a question, I will do that as well. On this call, we also have James McKissick. He is our president of ArtsBuild. He will also be able to answer questions, and he's really good about keeping an eye on the chat and letting folks in. Okay, let me see. Well, great. So this first slide is a mural of the Kinley Hotel. Alicia Buckles and Bria Gober, they did this mural project, completed in March of 2021. The quote is a summation of the joy that it brought to Alicia to be able to participate in this very large mural project, thanks to Artist Work funding. So today, our agenda more or less is to welcome all of you, give you an overview of ArtsBuild, talk about some previous grant recipients, talk about Artist Works, what the grant is, and some nuts and bolts of it. And then I'm going to open it up for questions and comments. So I see on the call a lot of familiar faces, and I see for myself some new faces. And so I want to take a moment to talk about ArtsBuild and the mission of ArtsBuild and the impact of ArtsBuild and arts and culture in Hamilton County. So our mission is to build a stronger community through the arts. Our tagline is more arts in more places for more people. So we partner and we advocate, we connect, we educate, we advance, and we support the arts in Hamilton County. The ways in which that happen is the one way, which I do each day with the support of my coworkers, is grant making, funding the arts sector. What does that mean? It's pushing forward money into Hamilton County to help artists, arts organizations, and community organizations have funding for their arts projects that help elevate the arts and culture throughout Hamilton County. But we do so much more than that, thankfully. We have arts education. Part of our arts education is our Imagine program. Last fiscal year, 14,000 elementary school students in Hamilton County experienced an arts field trip thanks to our Imagine program. We also offer shared services. And so quarterly, we host workshops open to artists, arts organizations to come and, learn about board development, strategic storytelling, different types of accounting for small, medium, large organizations, things of that nature. All are provided. These shared services, workshops are provided free to the public that you could come and be a part of it. Leadership development, growing new arts and culture leaders. One way in which that happens is we have a Holmberg Arts Leadership Institute run thanks to my coworker, Amy Loudermilk. Runs from July through April. So if you're interested in that, I will drop her email in the chat and you can chat with her about being a part of the next leadership class. And then arts advocacy. So what does that mean? It means that each day we are advocating for the arts and communicating throughout Hamilton County the economic value of the creative economy here in our county. And our next slide is really going to highlight that. We just completed the Arts and Economics Survey 6, and here are some numbers for Hamilton County. It is amazing the impact the the economic impact of arts and culture in Hamilton County, and actually nationally. You know, we have 3,100 jobs that are supported by local arts and culture nonprofit sector. You know, over 2 million attendees into arts and culture events last fiscal in 2022. 191 million in economic activity through arts and culture. And so if anybody wants these individual slides to throw onto your social media to celebrate the impact of the arts in Hamilton County and beyond, I can send those. I'm going to take a moment to read our equity statement. ArtsBuild does not and shall not discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, creed, gender, gender expression, age, national origin, ancestry, disability, marital status, sexual orientation, or military status in any of its activities or operations. These activities include, but are not limited to, hiring and firing of staff, selection of volunteers and vendors, and provision of funding and services. We are committed to providing an inclusive and welcoming environment for all members of our staff, clients, volunteers, subcontractors, and vendors. So now on to ArtisWorks, which is why we're all here. ArtisWorks is a grant program aimed at providing economic stimulus that benefits the creative sector and the public realm. Further along, we'll talk about what that means. First, I wanted to thank our funders, Benwood Foundation, Lyndhurst Foundation, and our individual ArtsBuild donors. We thank you for this funding to be able to move forward this program. So ArtisWork is inspired by the WPA federal projects of the 1930s, where artists were provided funding to move forward in their projects, to have impact on the economy, and to support artists in the work that they do. So why ArtisWorks? So as you know, we all had this thing called the pandemic, and loss of jobs, loss of audience, and artists needed support to get back to work, and they continue to need that support. And so this round of ArtisWork is a continuation of that, to help our public realm have engaging and enriching arts experiences while artists are being paid. So this current year is about half of the projects are complete. They have all been really amazing and engaging. These are a few that are that have happened already or continuing to happen. And so Emily Kate Boyd did a phenomenal program over at the wood shop. In conjunction with Lon Eldridge, Miss Iantha Newton took time to create an amazing compilation of paintings, in which it was displayed at the Highway 153 Walmart in Hickson. And it was an alternative exhibition where you're in an ordinary space, but you're seeing extraordinary art. Obvious Dad, their summer run of shows was supported by this grant program. Crabtree Farms, they recently unveiled their community mosaic project, and it was partially funded through this. As you see in the bottom right is Andrea Zoppo, doing performance art related to weather. And then Stephanie Brooks did Radiohead Reorchestrated at Songbirds Foundations in July, and an amazing concert that one of our staff was able to attend and reported back that it was phenomenal. And then we have the Jewish Federation in conjunction with the lead artist Louis Marion Howard with the legacy project. And so that's just a touch of what has happened this fiscal year. So the nuts and bolts of the Artist Work Grant is the application opens this Thursday, November 9th at 9 a.m. Many of you have worked through our grant system submit. I will send a link for everyone, and I'll also put it in the chat at the end. You go onto that website, you register, create your profile if you haven't already done so. And then on that November 9th at 9 a.m., the application will go live and you can start it. The applications are due by 12 p.m., 12 noon on Thursday, December 21st. So please note that each application does have a timestamp for the date and the time submitted. Late applications will not be reviewed. So be very cognizant of that day and time, please. Here at ArtsBuild, we want everybody to be successful and have the opportunity to write a grant in a way that doesn't feel overly stressful and intimidating and all the things, right? But grants can be. So what we do is offer draft reviews of your application. And if you notify me by December 14th, 5 p.m.-ish, sometime that day, just shoot me an email and say, hey, will you look at my draft? And I will, or another staff member can go into the system and see what you have in draft form and provide you feedback. And you're welcome to use the feedback that we provide or leave what doesn't feel good to you. We will do this in time for you to be able to submit by the due date. If we give ourselves a week to do that. So any late draft if you ask us to do it after December 14th, likely the answer will be no, due to the high volume of drafts in which we read. And then the grant notifications will go back out in the beginning of February. So kind of to give you a rundown of timeline to keep it in your brains is, so it's about to open this Thursday. It will close December 21st. There will be sort of a hibernation period. We're going to get us through the holidays, and then we're going to start draft reviews of the grants in January. So you're going to sit a minute. You're not going to hear from us until late January on when the next step is, because we're going to get through holidays. We're going to give our reviewers time to review, score, and all the things. And so all of these dates will be in the guidelines that we provide you that will be attached to the application. So eligibility, who's eligible to apply for this? Individual artists or groups of artists in Hamilton County. Keyword, Hamilton County. Hamilton County nonprofit arts organizations and community organizations are allowed to apply with a lead artist or artists in Hamilton County. So if you are an arts organization applying on your own, that makes you ineligible. You do have to have a lead artist who is running the project, leading the project, who is not eligible to apply. For-profit businesses, as I said, organizations alone, and lead artists who have already received artist work funding. And so if you're a lead artist who has already received this funding in the many rounds that we have already done, this is not a round for you. But if an organization is working with a new group of artists, lead artists, they can work with that new set of artists, even if in the past this organization has supported another artist in the realm of artist works. If that is confusing to folks, reach out to me before you apply to confirm your eligibility. I'll walk you through it, and we can do that really easily. So eligible artistic disciplines, visual arts, fine crafts. So that's working with a traditional material or medium, media, film or photography, performance, dance, music, is instrumental, theater, and vocal, and literary arts, fiction, children's, young adults, poetry. Let's say you have a question about if the art in which you do fits within these categories, reach out and confirm with us that it falls within the categories, because this is not an exhaustive list. Funding amount, you can request up to $10,000 for a project. We estimate between 5 to 8 grants will be funding. For this grant, there is no matching funds required. As you'll notice, down to your right, might be your left, depending on how you're looking, Scenic City Shakespeare, The Winter's Tale. They've just concluded their production this fall. It is also an Artist Work Grant recipient. So funding restrictions. Funding is used within 1 year from grant award date. We estimate it's going to be mid-February 2024 through mid-February 2025. By January, we'll know the exact dates. On your grant application, it is going to ask you for a timeline. It is going to ask you for dates. You can realistically put February 15th, 2024 through February 14th, 2025. Let's say you have your timeline and you've submitted your application and you're funded, which is great, right? But life happens and your timeline shifts throughout the year, but it's still within that funding period. All you have to do is reach out to me and we'll talk about the shift in the timeline. We can be flexible if it makes sense for your project and it also stays within the funding year. There are some things that artist work funding cannot be used for. Existing artworks, projects, and programs. So let me repeat that one because that one's really important. The existing is the important word. So this is for new projects, artworks, programs, things of that nature. And then the other ways in which funding cannot be used: permanent staff positions within an organization, capital improvements, buildings or construction, major equipment purchases. Now, some projects will require or request some smaller equipment purchases. If you have questions about that and what major and smaller means in the realm of funding, reach out and we can talk through it. Seed money for starting new organizations, school projects, fundraisers, or events, or as event sponsor. So grant expenses and activities. So all of this information is in the guidelines, which I will send over today when I do send you the recording and also the submit link to our grants portal. So grant expenses and activities. So 75% of the project budget must stay within Hamilton County. You can use it for artist fees, organizational fees, supplies and equipment, transportation, rental fees, marketing, documentation, assessment tools, project manager fees. Please note that no more than 10% can be used for the project manager fees. And if your project needs general liability insurance or other types of insurance, that is eligible as well. For us, it is not required. Let's say you have an expense or activity that's not clearly listed in this list. You're welcome to reach out and we can talk about it and see where it fits and if it falls within eligibility. So when you are writing your grant, the goal is to paint a full picture of your project so that when reviewers read your grant application, they can envision what you're talking about. They can see your timeline, they can see the goals and things of that nature. Things to keep in mind for this grant that are very important. at least one performance or exhibit is free and open to the entire public, entire community of Hamilton County and those surrounding counties. That doesn't mean that you can't have additional performances or additional exhibits that have a charge to it. For example, we funded a concert this summer through Artist Work that offered one concert was free and open to the public, and the other concert had a modest ticket, but it was a small ticket price. And it was amazing because both sold out like that. And so, you know, folks who might have the economic challenges of paying a ticket were able to attend the performance, and those who were able to purchase a ticket did. And both were very successful concerts. And so applications will ask for a letter from the owner of the performance venue or exhibition space granting use for the projects. So what this means is that let's say you are going to do your project at Barking Legs Theater. And they have agreed that you can use it on this date. Just you will upload the email or a letter or something of that nature conveying that you have done the due diligence of finding the space. What if you're having a trouble finding a space? Well, what you'll do is reach out to us. We'll connect you to our venue guide. We'll connect you with our community arts partners who have spaces that you can explore. So we can connect you to resources so that you can find the best venue space for what you're trying to achieve. So that is one that I encourage and invite y'all to jump on sooner than later, because this is a very busy time of year for not only ArtsBuild as an organization, but the whole county in venue spaces, and you know, and they do take a moment to get back to you on this time of year. And so start thinking now and reaching out to where you want to have your project. In terms of grants, outcomes, so which you will receive upon being funded, is participant and audience numbers must be tracked. So what that means is that we provide you with a template to what you need to track. You will know that at the get-go, so you know what to anticipate through the funding year. Outcomes in the application must be stated and assessed. You know, what is the goal of the project? What's the benefit to you as an artist, to the organization, community at large, the you know, and things of that nature. Projects and finished artworks must be documented. And so sometimes that is hard for people to figure out how they're going to document their project. You can touch base with us and we can give you examples of how past projects have documented their work. You know, for example, through video, photography, you know, public talks, you know, open events and things like that. So there's a myriad of ways in which you can document your work for, you know, for future understanding of how to do your next project even better. And then the project must include publicity that recognizes ArtsBuild as a funding agent, a funding partner in this. That does help the community understand and recognize and celebrate the funding that is provided through ArtsBuild. And then there is a requirement of a mid-grant update and end-of-year project reporting. So what that means, the mid-year update is really me emailing you and asking you one or two questions. How's your project going? How can we offer you some support to move forward in your project and conclude it successfully? It's very short, it's very sweet, it's just a touching base. And then the end of year reporting, which you receive the link to it upon being funded. So you will know what is required for the final report. And that way you can move through your project in an informed manner. And you also can ask questions at the beginning to get clarification of what is required. Because in terms of what you'll notice in guidelines is 75% of the funding is provided up front. The final 25% of funding is allocated upon completion of your project, as well as completion of the final report. We encourage you to read the guidelines thoroughly and check your eligibility. That does seem like an obvious, right? But we really, really invite you to take a moment to read through the guidelines and check them, and check with us if you have any questions on eligibility. This is a very competitive grant. It is one of our most competitive grants, and beautiful projects have come out of it, thankfully. But you don't want to write an application and submit it and not be able to be reviewed because you're not eligible. That's a lot of work on your part. So always reach out to us if there are questions. Take a moment before you start the applications to scroll through it to see what we're asking. It's really a who, what, when, where, and why, and a budget template. You know, it's just telling the story. Our goal for our applications are to be very straightforward, to get the nuts and bolts, the things of what we need, and not require these long and tedious applications. We just want basically the overview, a timeline, a budget, you know, how it will impact the community and yourself, and things of that nature. I encourage you all to be clear and concise in your application. Artists have beautiful brains, beautiful minds, all the things. At times, those brains can go off into all the ways, right? And we want your passion to be very evident in the application, but we also want you to have the nuts and bolts of your project, being very strategic, having a linear nature to your application, an A, B, C, Z, you know. And if you get me to draft review it, that's what I'm looking for, a balance of passion and a balance of linear project presentation. Double check your budget. This is where folks get really hung up on a lot, because they'll write an application narrative that does not match the budget template. Those two things need to match. So the question about, like, what are you going to use the money for? That's where you tell the story of, in words, what the money is going to be used for and why. And then the budget template, which we provide, is where you break down the line items. And what we do require is you use that budget template that we provide. If your application is submitted without that template, we will not review it. So before you submit your application, that is the one thing to go back and check and say, it downloaded, I can see it, it is not blank, it's all filled out, I have read the instructions, and I'm good to go. And then do one last proofread before you submit, because once you submit, it is submitted. And let's see. Okay. And now we're on to scoring. So it's a 100-point scale. It is broken down into 5 component parts. Project provides meaningful work for an artist or group of artists. You will convey that in your application beautifully, I have no doubt. Project provides high quality arts and cultural experiences for the community. You will define that as well. Demonstrated capacity to implement the project. So this is the part where you're conveying to the reviewers who are scoring and reading the grants, as well as ArtsBuild, that you have the capacity to successfully move forward on your project. You have a timeline, you have a budget, you have a team, or you have an infrastructure, or you have an organization you're working with. You know, and if at any part of writing your application where you're just like, my team is not quite strong enough, I might need additional resources. That's when, again, you reach out to us and we will connect you with artists, organizations, resources in the community that you can connect with and partner with. Then the budget is realistic in relation to the proposed project. You know, it makes sense. You're asking, let's say you're asking for 10,000, your line items add up to 10,000. They don't add up to $10,011. They add up to 10,000. You're being very you're creating details in that. So, you know, the line item supplies is not enough. What are the supplies that you need? Do you need to rent sound equipment? You know, where are you getting that sound equipment? The details that you put in there demonstrate to everybody looking at your application and reviewing it that you know who to contact to get what you need or where to find what you need. And then plans for documentation and assessment strategies. So what this means is you have due diligence in documenting your project. And so for to conveying the world that this project has happened and that it's going to help you for future projects and things of that nature. And assessment is very important because as well as all of our projects go, they can always be that much better. And the assessment strategies are going to help us be better in the next project. Assessment strategies can be surveys, you know, speaking with audience members, social media feedback sessions, things of that nature, you know, interactive feedback sessions during the project and things of that. Let's see. So our grants are we invite many voices to the table to help us decide on funding. They are comprised of community members with diverse background, as well as our ArtsBuild board members. We train each and every one of our grant review panelists to read and score grants. So every time we have a grant program that is reviewed and scored by grant reviewers, they attend a 1-hour training session that goes through the guidelines, that goes through what it means to read and score applications. We address conflict of interest. What does that mean? And if there is a conflict of interest, that grant reviewer recuses themselves from reviewing and scoring that specific grant and also talking about that grant out in the public realm. And so we do our due diligence to make sure our grant reviewers can look at an application competently with the rubric in mind to score and the grant and provide comments and questions, which will then be transferred over into a panel meeting. So what does that mean? A panel meeting is top scoring grants are invited to a Zoom. They are provided questions and comments from reviewers before that panel, and they have the opportunity to come on and address them. All comments and questions are anonymous, so you do not know which ones are attached to which reviewers, but you do have it beforehand so you could prepare. And then after the panel, it goes into allocations and, you know, the scores are retabulized and all the things. Benefits of applying. So upwards of 40% of our grant applications are first-time grantee writers. So what that means is they've never written a grant before. And so we're their first time. And so they're gaining experience on how to write a grant. And then there are many folks who have written many grants, but it's still a time to hone skills and things like that for future submissions or things of that nature. It gives you an opportunity to write an artist statement and create a portfolio for future projects and endeavors. You become part of our network. You're given what we do is we support your projects moving forward in our in ArtsWire, which is our weekly newsletter, and we can provide you with additional grants and resources that come in our email boxes, and we can say, you know, here are other avenues of support for you. And then we'll share your work and talents with a broader community. Okay, I said all the words very fast. I am going to unshare and open it up for questions and comments and things that you all need. And I'm going to look at the sorry, I did not do the slides full screen. What questions do you all have? Was I that good? Maybe.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
You said that regarding the grant writing, is that something we need to look up ourselves, like how to do it, or you said that there's tools available through you guys to prep us?
Absolutely. So what I suggest is when the grant application opens on Thursday, to go into the grant portal and look at the application and look at the questions. I think you're going to be surprised how straightforward it is. And you're just really answering one by one the questions. So for example, it'll say, what is your timeline for your project? And that one's that's one I love because it really breaks down your project, and be very strategic on that one. You'll say, March 15th, 2024, I will blah, blah, blah. And April 24th, you know, and just chunk it out. So, so when you look at it on Thursday, and shoot me an email and ask all the questions, if anything in that is confusing or if you need clarification. Because right now I don't have specific tips besides just looking at the application and then going from there, and then we can support.
And from that point, you guys will proofread it for us?
Yes, if you send me once your draft once your draft is completed, you don't submit it. What you'll do at that point is keep it in draft form. It'll make sense when you go into the grants system, and shoot me an email and say, hey, Melissa, can you do a draft review? I will say yes. And I can see everybody's application in real time. So you don't have to send anything through email other than the request for me to look at it.
And thank you again. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. What other questions?
I have a question, Melissa.
Yes.
What my number one thing is to expound on the letter that we need to get from the performance venue. That is something that you would like scanned, or is it a upload feature for us to be able to do that? Or I really don't want to depend on somebody's busy schedule, right, to send it individually to you guys. So
yeah, so what you'll do is just, it's an upload. And so you'll just, a lot of the applications last year just had you know, they took a screenshot of an email that said from somebody, we have you confirmed to use our venue space on this date and this time. Or, you know, sometimes the date had not been completely narrowed down, but the venue space was like, we're in and we're going to be supportive of this project. We expect it to happen in the summer of blah, blah, blah. And so, don't feel super concerned if you don't have every single date narrowed down. We just want a demonstration that you've done the due diligence of, you know, you have your space in mind and you have a relationship and things of that nature. So it can be just an upload of an email. If there's any challenges related to that, folks just need to reach out. We can work with you and figure it out, and all.
Okay, yeah, because
Melissa, I was gonna add to Etienne. How are you?
hi James, how are you?
Good. So I know that there's more flexibility for like music and performing arts. Where they will really look at it though is like if you say that you're gonna do a mural on the side of like First Horizon building, or you know what I'm saying? A lot of the more site-specific visual art stuff, they will want to see something really laid out, because they want the private owners to be part of the proposal and informed of it. So for music and stuff and performing, it's a little bit less strenuous than how they would look at it for an exhibition or a mural that's out in the public somewhere.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because when you all mentioned that, I went ahead and shot an email to the person that I'm interested, because as you said, you know, their schedules are busy, everybody's doing stuff. So I just kind of wanted, and the first response back to me was, do you have to have a date? I'm working on my calendar for next year now. So I just kind of wanted to double check. But that feels good that you don't have to have an exact date, because you don't know how things will shake. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank y'all for that clarification. What other questions arise as we're on this Zoom together? I'm looking at my notes to see if I've left anything off. As is usual, once you get off the Zoom, there will be questions. And we expect that. I am putting my email in the chat. A lot of you all have it, some of you don't. Just shoot me an email. We can go from there. I am going to stop the recording in just a second, but I just want to say thank you for attending today's Zoom, all the words, right? We appreciate all the projects that are always presented. We appreciate the local artists and local arts organizations for all you do to enrich Hamilton County.